We are back live for another exciting episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. Today, Chris Aceto, Lee Priest, John Romano will be joining us later, and we're joined by a special guest, Carlo Fillipone, who we know very well, the chickenpound.com. What's up, Carlo?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Dave, Lee, Chris?
Good.
Thanks for joining us today.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me on.
I saw you like my post of the chicken wings, Carlo. You like them chicken wings
I try to like all of your posts, Lee. I try to like them all.
The chicken wings were not. I know it's not as healthy as as the chicken pound, but the chicken wings fried were nice.
Yeah, nothing beats a fried chicken wing.
For a guy who's always in social media jail like Lee, I don't think there's anyone out there who posts more. You're on every post, Lee. Everywhere I check, you respond, and you respond to everyone, even if they respond back. I don't even know how you know if they respond or not.
Oh, look, I got a lot of time on my hands, Dave. It's just,
You're a very good social media guy, I got to tell you. You're very cooperative. I post something that I don't even look at.
Sometimes, too, I try to reply, even if they send me a message sometimes, because I'll go through my inbox, if I'm bored or I'm doing cardio. Mainly when I'm doing cardio for an hour, I go through, and sometimes I write you a big letter, and sometimes if you haven't got time to reply, I might just give a thumbs up or I like it just to acknowledge that I've read it. And then sometimes people accept that, but then sometimes they'll write this big thing, you just give it a tick or a thumbs up, and they go, What? I took all that time to write you that, and all you can give me is a fucking thumbs up? You can't even fucking answer? I'm like, I was going to answer, but I was going to answer later. I was just letting you know that I've seen it, to acknowledge that I've seen it, and I was going to come back to it. But now with that attitude, I'm not coming back.
For those of you who might not know where to find Lee Priest, because he's had 400 different profiles on Instagram, because he keeps getting banned. And it's amazing. You have 155,000 followers, so let's get you another 150.
Yeah, because what I've been doing, I've been like commenting on all these other ones that tag me. So when I comment on the ones that tag me, people that are on there see my new ones, so they start following me again.
I don't, to tell you the truth,
look at those eyes.
Sometimes which
those
one
eyes
is the
are
right
turning
one.
green.
Yeah, I see your eyes are turning green.
But what gets me, though, the one that's being hacked is still up there. Everyone reports it. It's still up there. And people write to me, Lee, your hacked account keeps writing me. I said, well, block it. It's like,
now, for those
that
of you
was my
who don't
walk this morning with the ocean.
Lee Priest official 72 means this is the 72-second rendition of his Instagram post. Anyway.
Yes.
So
that was my morning walk there this morning of the ocean. We were expecting the tsunami. They said, don't go to the beach because you're going to get the tsunami waves from Tonga coming over. But
which is weird because we were supposed to get a tornado. There was a tornado that touched down here. I wonder if it had anything to do with what you guys had going on over there, the tsunami.
Oh, look at that wave. I showed this to my mum, and my mum writes back, stop going on that break wall when there's big waves. Get off there now, you stupid idiot. You're going to get washed out. I said, Mum, it's okay.
Chris, of all the things that Lee's done in his career, she's worried about him stepping on the break wall. Right?
Well, that's how people get in trouble, right? On the little things, right?
Yeah.
The least risky thing takes them away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Washed out the sea. I could just see it now.
John Romano joining us a little late there, but
a little late, but better than never, right?
That's right.
I fell asleep.
Now, I wanted to discuss a topic that we're always talking about the 300-pound bodybuilder. I wanted to ask you guys: do you think that we'll ever see a 400-pound bodybuilder, like a legitimate one, not like a once-off like Greg Kovacs? Like I'm talking about like guys walking around in the off season at 400 pounds competing at 350.
Oh.
No.
Not at a high level.
Said we wouldn't see 300, but we got 300.
No, Hatfield always used to say we'll see 300. He wouldn't shut up about it.
Yeah. Why can't we see 400-pound bodybuilders in the off season?
Because you only have one heart and one artery.
they probably play
350.
No, I mean it's because maybe that's not a good thing. I mean, it's the heart can only take so much. It's like saying it's just simple mathematics. I don't care how good your cardiovascular health is. It's like putting a small boiler in a huge building. Eventually, it's just going to run like crazy, and in 2 years, it's going to heat the place, and then it's going to like go kaput.
I didn't say it's healthy, Chris. I said, do you think we'll see it?
No, because by the time you get to 4, in pursuit of 4, the end comes before you hit 400.
It was like breaking the 4-minute mile, Dave. And then we're going to break 3 minutes. You're going to break 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you going to break 1 minute? I mean, at some point you got to
Well, we've seen it. I've seen Kovacs at 420, which wasn't a pretty sight.
Well, it's probably one of Kovacs at 420 would get beat by the entire 212 lineup.
Right, but that's just because he didn't have a great structure. But I'm just saying. But what about what if you got a Ramy at 380 or something like that? I mean, it's possible.
No. Well, I mean, look at if you compare him this year, Ramy, to 5 years ago, which one is better? I mean, that's been if you're around Instagram, you see the comparison posts, right?
We didn't say better though. We just said, will we see?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Well, I keep deferring to what better, right?
Right.
I mean, wait. Will we see 400? I highly doubt it.
I mean, let's say we have gene doping. Really becomes something that is readily available through peptide sites, and you buy the little gene doping kit. You take the shot of the adenovirus that clips out your myostatin gene, and now guys, like what happened when growth hormone came around. Guys went from being in the off season at 220 and competing at 205, and now they're up to 300 competing at 260, 270, 280. You add another dimension to it. Yeah. Maybe we're going to see guys 380 and competing at 340.
I think it's like Chris said though. It's too much on the heart, because look at some of those world's strongest men.
We didn't say bodybuilding was healthy necessarily, Lee.
I know, but I just say when some of those world's strongest men, when they got up around 400, some of those world's strongest men all started having heart attacks and dying. They weren't around the 400 pounds for long before they started.
Not initially, Lee. They last a couple of years before they have died.
Oh, wow, that's great.
I like John's
example. 39 usually,
John's got John's got the right example. I mean, right? You don't have Bob Beeman. Long jumping 20-something feet, whatever, way back. People aren't doing 45 feet now.
Right, exactly.
With all the anabolic growth hormone and
Chris, I'll get a Bob Beeman story for you.
Bob Beeman was the first guy.
He had that long jump record for years, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Bob Beeman went to my in my dad's class. My dad.
I just said it's connected to your father somehow. Did you hear? I'm sure.
My father taught him, and he was always like, goofing around. And my father told me, he's like, look, you got talent in athletics. Put all your efforts into that.
Put all your eggs in one basket.
Forget school.
Not to make a chicken joke. Put all your eggs in one basket.
Right. That's going to get you to college, he told my father.
The only way it's going to happen is if it was like the female record was 26 feet in a long jump, and now Bob becomes Sharon, and next time it's 45 feet because now Bob's a woman. He's got the new world record for the women. So,
well, you know what, Dave? The whole idea that to aspire to 400 is backwards bodybuilding anyway. Mm-hmm. Because if someone weighed 400 and they had good shape, well, okay, Kovacs didn't have good shape. We'd be saying, well, Cormier was better, Wheeler was better when he was 218, 222. In other words, people should be aspiring to be, better physiques than what they got, as opposed to, aspiring to just hit a number. And that's what a lot of bodybuilders do these days is, I got to hit 300 in the off season. I mean, once Dorian hit 300, the whole entire world thought they could hit 300.
Right. But no one even got close to it before that. So
but that's right. It is. I mean, everything's a mental barrier. But just because you can reach that mental barrier doesn't mean your physique gets better. I know we're not talking better physique.
But you know the mentality of a young bodybuilder. They're not thinking, hey, aesthetically, I'm going to be better if I'm smaller. They're going to be like, I want to be the biggest guy out there because I have to be Mr. Olympia. And if I could take this, gene doping kit and I could take some new anabolic agent that they find in 5-10 years from now, who knows what it's going to be. Now all of a sudden I'm growing muscle at an enormous rate. I mean, who's going to say no? Who's going to stop himself?
Dave, are you bringing out a gene kit? Because this is the second show you've mentioned that some myostatin blocking gene kits.
You know why I like to say something like this? So that
got a new product.
So that when Bob Ciccarello tries to take credit for it in 10 years, I could go back to the show and I could reference the show.
Well, those morbidly obese, gigantic people are 600, 700, 800, 1,000 pounds. more. There was one guy that died in one of these, I think in an Ohio State or college in Ohio. He was 1,200 pounds. They had to like get this special truck to get him out of the. So I mean, if you can weigh 1,200 pounds of fat and your heart can still pump that way, you're bedridden, you can't move. But I mean, if the argument is the heart, I mean, grant fat gets.
Yeah, there's 600-pound people walking around, John, right? And they're fat.
But I mean, the fat gets much less blood flow than the muscle, of course. But still, to say that the human structure couldn't maintain it.
It can't because a person sitting in bed who's 1,200 pounds is like running that furnace, with the example I gave you, on like 20 degrees.
Right.
It's not going to blow up. The minute you put the furnace at like 60, the thing just hits it,
Exactly.
Chris, I guess I'll reiterate what I said. I don't think I'm not agreeing that it's going to be healthy, but it's possible. I think people look, these lunatics do DNP and all the other fucking crazy shit that they shouldn't be doing now. And I mean, why not? If bodybuilders think they could add 20 or 30% more mass to their body with a specific drug, they're definitely going to take it.
No, without a doubt. I mean,
I would have taken it.
All you have to say is I have it. I can get it to you. I heard Dorian took it, and that's it. Off to the races.
Yeah.
People
I heard that's what they'll be like, Nick Walker's taking it. That's today's newest, star, right?
The whole that we brought up Dorian. It's like, I think before him, I don't think anybody ever thought of how to just go for it. But my question is, was it that he actually did it to that degree, or that he was that big and badass that people chasing him had to give that, throw caution to the wind and do, whatever? Because
he was big, John.
What's that?
He was big.
He was amazing. He was insane.
He went from that to
those black and white shirts.
Yeah.
With the socks on.
Yeah, with the socks on. Yeah.
No, he's responsible for screwing it all up, John.
Yeah, right.
Well, he was the first one, I think, to take growth hormone to a whole new level, though, right? Like, because Lee Haney was king before Dorian was there, and real nice, clean, pretty lines, great physique. And then along came Dorian, of course. And the story that I got from New York was that Dorian just took growth hormone to a whole new level, which, if you ask me, was very, very obvious in his physique. So I don't disagree with Dave that some of the younger guys will take whatever it is to get to the next level. But what I don't agree with and what I don't believe is that we'll see a 400-pound bodybuilder, just because for all the reasons, right? Because if 400 pounds, like, where do you start your diet at 450? Like, how does that work? And then I think
I'm talking about off season, Carlo, like guys walking around at 400 rather than 300.
But I think those guys that are that close in weight, you got to be upwards of 6 foot tall, right? You're not going to be 5'10" and 400 pounds. You're probably 6'5".
There's 5'6" guys at 300 pounds now. So I mean, why not?
Yeah. But I think anybody who could be a bodybuilder at 400 pounds is probably playing in the NFL. They're 6'5", they're 6'6", and they're making a lot more money than trying to chase a bodybuilding dream. I don't even think they would waste their time and energy. Or, I mean, look, some of these strongmen look amazing, and they're 360, 370 pounds. Pusinowski, right? Mariusz Pusinowski, I think, was 320, 330.
Brian Shaw was 460 or something like that.
Right, Brian Shaw. So I don't think that you're never going to see a guy who can look like a bodybuilder at 400 pounds. I think that's very, very likely at 6'5", 6'6". I don't know if they'll ever hit the stage at 400 pounds.
No, I don't think that. I'm just saying, I want to. Do we see routinely guys walking around at 400 in the offseason competing at 350? Will that happen? I think it will. I really
how's the super heavyweight class look now?
I think Dave's got the
Nationals and USA's. Right? How does the super heavyweight class look today compared to the early 2000s when you had 30, 40 guys in the super heavyweight class? I think the class numbers are going down in the super heavyweight class, are they not?
I don't think so.
As far as
pretty big nationals this past year.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was
maybe
huge.
I missed that. But I think the number of people who are showing up and their average weight will tell you whether they're trending in that direction.
I was 5'5", 285. Let's just say I look 400.
You probably, proportionally, you probably work 400.
Yeah, true too. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, you're
Good
gonna
thing he wasn't 6'5". He would have been
Yeah.
advertising your kit, Dave. 600 pounds. He would have been
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
500.
I mean, you'll somewhere out of the woodwork.
They already I'm going to get people emailing me now to where they can buy the kit like that.
Right.
That doesn't exist right now.
But if it did, you're going to get some kid out of the Midwest, big, corn-fed Midwestern Jethro type. He's going to be like, 6'7", 6'8", and he'll be 425.
I'm talking about the usual 5'10" to 5 foot, to 6 foot.
No,
Yeah,
I
but
think you're going to see. You're going to see like
in the Appalachians. In the Appalachians, you probably got them because those ones that do get really big and strong on the farms are always they got a couple of chromosomes short up here somewhere, and they get really big.
What about the Samoans?
Like massive.
Well, the Samoans or the Aborigines, usually.
Samoans are big, or Tongans from Tonga. They're
they lead to WWE, Dave. By the time.
Did you hear, Dave, about the numbers of the steroid use in high school is at an all-time low or like a 20-year low or something?
Yeah,
like
no
that?
one going to school
because people like to play video games now. That no one does any
So that's kind of where I'm going with that. Is like these guys don't even want to go to the gym. Forget about trying to get to 400 pounds. Like they don't even want to work out.
Look, when you got
is there a 400-pound guy playing Dungeons and Dragons?
I
think we need to mount a school, visitation circuit where we go and talk to these kids and get them interested in taking steroids.
We got to go like
bring a bag
again. I mean, we're gonna lose our next generation.
We should go to another country and get some and field some people. Come on, you don't think that the oxygen gym factory over there in Kuwait is going to start if there becomes better technology to build muscle, they'll be cranking out 400-pound bodybuilders all day long over there. Guaranteed.
They might.
Just tell them that Carlo's chicken has a myostatin blocker, and they'll order you from you like 1 million pounds.
All right, I'll give you guys this question. You tell me if I did have a magical kit, that clipped out myostatin and by removing your myostatin gene, you could increase your muscle mass by 35%. Okay, guaranteed. Okay, let's assume that. Let's put that statistic there. How many of the current crop of top amateur and pro bodybuilders who wouldn't take the kit? What percentage wouldn't take the?
How many would or wouldn't?
How many wouldn't? Because I know how many would. How many wouldn't?
Zero.
I wouldn't, Dave.
Right, but you're 50 years old, Carl. Forget about it.
No, but I wouldn't have when I was 30.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but he said top.
Remember
top
me reaching out to you?
Top crop.
When I reached out to you.
No, because the difference is, Carlo, it's top crop because you're sucked into the idea of, listen, if you're 3rd, 5th, or 9th, or 12th at the Olympia, this is in any sport or any business, and your competition's just a little bit ahead of you, and you hear that he's taking Dave's kit, Dave's magical kit, you just say, you know what? I'll do it for this show.
Under those pretenses, yes, you're 100% correct.
Yeah, and you would say to yourself, "Yeah, I'm not going to let my body get too big," and which is the old bullshit convince yourself rationalization. You start taking it, you start making good gains, and after in your mind you said, "I'm not going to go past 220." Now you're 240, 250, 260, and people telling you how great you look and you feel good and you're strong and your health markers are good. Come on, it's inevitable.
Dave, you'll hear, the same person using it would be getting chest pains and say, well, it could be, calling around and his friend could be telling him it's probably acid, high protein diet right now, very acidic.
Acid reflux, right?
Well,
people just want to know, Dave, is the fiberlized Priest 25 still ongoing?
Is the what?
The discount code, Priest 25.
Oh, Priest 25 is still working on speciesnutrition.com. Yes. The discount code.
You're welcome. So is there a hint that Lee's eyes are turning green in that photo?
I know. I was getting excited. I said, "Oh, green. That's my color."
So to reiterate, the kit does not exist. But
not yet, John.
Wink, John. Wink.
But John, you know what? If we came out with a kit that mimicked what we're talking about
Yes.
with natural supplements, and we called it the
Yes.
myostatin inhibitor kit.
Called it the priest resurrection kit.
That's we would sell a lot of those, I bet.
So we'll call it Myolize.
Yeah,
And-
there you go.
Yes.
See, you named it for me, John, right there.
Yeah. But
I
you
might
know,
wind up where Singerman
that
is.
does
Though,
bring
unfortunately.
up
Get in and get out quick, Dave. Get in and get out quick.
you know, there was a myostatin negative, or I think it was a swimmer and a track athlete, Olympians, and they were both, they're a man and a woman, obviously.
Yeah.
And they were both partly myostatin. That's a myostatin inhibition, and they got married and had a kid, and the kid was myostatin negative, like almost completely, and it was the kid like almost died. I mean, it was an issue to keep him alive, to feed him enough. And
I thought there was a myostatin kid that was very healthy though too, that was born.
oh no, he's very healthy. You just got to feed him enough, otherwise he's gonna. It's what I'm saying is,
And his name, Big Rammy.
Big Rammy. Being the myostatin negative is not the end all. I mean, there's definitely all you guys out there now wanting to figure out how to get myostatin negative. It's there's downfalls to it. I mean,
No downfall to it. Not in bodybuilding terms.
Yes, there is.
How many people? Let's do another survey. How many people, if maybe even on this panel, if asked, would know Big Rammy's real full name?
I just can't pronounce it. I can see it.
Isn't that weird? He's probably the only bodybuilding in history, especially Mr. Olympia, that no one knows his real name.
We can call
Mamadou?
Lonnie Teeper. He's good at that stuff.
Marmaduke.
Yeah.
Isn't Marmaduke the dog cartoon?
Like Nasser El Somebody, when he first came out, it was a pain in the ass to learn that name because it was like kind of difficult and but you used it enough. No one even wants to even deal with Rammy's name. Everyone just calls him Big Rammy. Like it's no one even wants to even deal with maybe we could pronounce his real name.
What do his friends call him?
Rammy.
Not even Big.
They might just call him Tiny.
Dan Effrey would call him Biggs. He would call him Biggs. That's what he calls me, Biggs.
Biggs.
Yeah.
No, I reckon, Dave, you got to come out because there's got to be some. If you look at the myostatin and the blocker, there's got to be a way because people have the SARS and they have all these other natural stuff. There's got to be something naturally that can naturally maybe inhibit it a little bit that you can bring out in a product.
They were selling follistatin for a while, which theoretically can block myostatin. The problem is that you need something available 24/7 in the body that's constantly blocking it, or you don't get an effect from it. So that's why you have to kind of delete the gene so that the gene is not.
Maybe you can mix it with Fiberlyze so it goes through the system slowly.
If only it was that easy.
But
no one can come up with a monoclonal antibody or something like that can do it.
The only way to really introduce that gene is with a vector, right?
Through an adenovirus or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Using CRISPR technology, which CRISPR clips out the gene.
I thought it was like one of those things I put my salad in. It's a CRISPR.
There was a place called CRISPR's here for a while. They used to sell salads too, but they went out.
Well, I'm gonna work on this in my spare time in my laboratory.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, Carlo, your business would go through the roof if there were more 400-pound bodybuilders. Think about how much chicken. What's your protein requirement, Chris, when you're 400 pounds?
Oh God, who knows?
For Kai, it would be like 1,000 grams a day. Yeah, that's what I really, John. More so than a 400-pound body. I'd like to see someone be able to consume 1,000 grams of protein a day.
Exactly. That's right.
That would impress.
Remember that Victor Richards diet to come out once. He was like 30,000 calories a day or something.
Yeah. And then he admitted it was a lie.
Yes, he did it on my show actually.
Well,
Like everything else
grams
he says.
it's only 4,000 calories. So
we went out. I went out to eat.
Imagine eating
I went
that
out to
much,
eat.
John.
Well, if
Me
I
and
was
Victor Richards.
sorry,
Say about
Chris.
Victor
Go,
Richards.
Chris.
Nothing. Not that important. Fiberlize.
You went out. I'm interested now. I want to hear what he had to eat when you went out. Now I'm in suspense. I'm not going to know. Jesus.
Chris, say it.
It's not important, Dave.
No, we want to hear it.
We're not going to talk to you. Tell us.
Yeah, no one's talking.
No,
about
just
Chris.
If it's, if it was important, I would have said it.
Come on, only chicks do that.
All right, let's talk about Aaron Singerman for a minute. I put out a video because you know what? Aaron obviously crashed a car last week while driving under sleeping pills. Now, he was not supposed to be driving at all. Obviously not supposed to be on any drugs whatsoever, but certainly not supposed to be driving because he had that boating accident, in December. And one of the stipulations was that he would not use, he wouldn't drive, and that he wouldn't use any kind of alcohol or drugs. And I don't know what the reason why he was driving. They try to say he was sleep driving on Ambien. I don't know what the deal was, but the judge didn't buy it, obviously.
Sleep driving.
And they revoked his bail. So he was supposed to be sentenced on the 27th of this month, and the judge revoked the bail. And he wrote, I guess in his opinion there, that enough is enough. The court finds that the defendant is unlikely to abide by any condition or combination of conditions of release. The defendant has gotten into 2 dangerous accidents within 2 months of his guilty plea. There is an escalating pattern of reckless behavior, which has caused damage to personal property and the defendant himself. The court simply no longer trusts the defendant to comply with any of its orders or release conditions. So in doing so, they took him into custody. Now, I did a video about the day before I knew this was going to happen, because when they don't only give you so many chances, and all my lawyer friends said there's no way he's not getting taken into custody. They're going to revoke his bail, and he'll remain in a holding pen until January 27th when he's finally sentenced to whatever his sentence is. I did a video, and I basically was, kind of a little mad at what people in our community were doing. I mean, the guy is going to be punished for what he did wrong. All right, mislabeling, supplements or whatever he did. He's going to do 5 to 7 years or maybe more. That's his punishment. But the family, his 3 kids, his wife, should not be punished any further than the punishment that Aaron is receiving. And so I think it was a little disrespectful for the way people have been really, really railing on him and stuff like that. And so I did this video to be nice and, and to really tell people, hey, look, we're a community. He made a mistake. Whether you agree with it or not, he's going to be punished. Lay off it a little bit. You know what? Let's let him get sentenced and go do his time. His family has to heal now. And I think a lot of people responded well to it, but I don't know if Aaron's family responded so well to it. But John, give me your take on this whole situation. Is this just like a crumbling disaster at this point?
Well, one of the elements that this exemplifies pretty readily here in this case is that the punishment is not only reserved for the defendant. It's you get involved with somebody that's a criminal or has done criminal acts. You get sucked into the whole picture with them. So there's no way to separate Aaron from his family, his wife, and his kids, and his company, and everything, and just focus on him, especially with social media and this writer in Palm Beach who hates him.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a fair shake no matter what. Whatever sentence he gets, whatever punishment he gets, is immediately exacerbated by the fact that he's not the Lone Ranger. So, I think that the other side of that is in consideration of his family and that he doesn't go through this alone. He should have been on his absolute best behavior imaginable to, mitigate some of the stress that's going to be brought to his family. So the boating thing, the car thing, they're just, irresponsible, reckless, behavior, whether he's overstressed from having to go through this or what, who knows, but to comport himself in such a way that exacerbates the damage and the hurt to his family, and his kids is just really selfish and self-centered and self-absorbed. I don't see him as putting anybody first except him, despite all the posts on Facebook about the family is everything and this and that. If it was, right, I think he'd be considering them a little bit more than he has been, because he certainly hasn't acted like he's put his family first.
Right. I mean, after the boating accident and they took his license away. I mean, all he had to do was have someone pick him up, and he could have had someone driving him around.
It's like he doesn't have any money for a driver in one of his, luxury cars.
It was a very poor decision. Like
Bad.
very poor decision making. I mean, twice. I mean, they don't give you a lot of chances. I mean, this guy was on bail. You know, he had basically been convicted because he admitted, right? He signed that, you know, deal that they gave him. That's saying I'm guilty.
Yep.
And he was going to be sentenced. And you figure you want to spend the last 4 weeks with your family before you're sentenced. Right? I mean, now he doesn't get to spend any time. You know,
Like I said before, I saw on another channel, but I won't say which one, but I did see they've collected, well, the other channel posted a little bit, but there is another channel that's collected all the footage of the cameras from the homes where the boat was. So it shows this boat going round and around and hitting the docks and crashing into things. And the funniest part about it is the person who's on the phone to the police going, they got to be on drugs. This is fucking crazy. He's hitting everything. He's running into the docks. Oh, shit, they're going around again in circles. He's going to kill someone. Oh, he just crashed into another boat. Excuse me, sir. Has he hit a boat with people on it? No, the boat's empty. Oh, no, he's going around again. They've got to be on drugs. And then the police report, when they read the police report, it says the police report for whoever was on the boat were lovers. There was like 2 men on the boat, sort of not wearing shirts and that, but because they were so close together, the policeman thought they were partners or something. So I don't know what was happening on the boat at the time.
I wonder who. I didn't hear that there was anyone else on the boat with him. I wonder who else was there.
But then he says, he said he wasn't on the boat, but then the police report shows, what did it say? The boat had parts of the dock on there and parts of trees on the boat, and there was blood on the boat. Then it's got a picture of Aaron sitting there with a towel over his head like this.
Oh my god!
So
yeah,
so when you hear the 911 call, it's sort of it's not funny what happened, but the 911 call of the guy describing it sounds funny. That's what's happening.
Well, you know, you got to look at it this way. Aaron is not seeing the light of day until his sentence, until his thing is over. So 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, that's it. He's in and he's not coming back out until all those years are over. So what a way to go. I mean, you don't get to, have a proper, I mean, at his level, he would have gotten sentenced and they would have said, how long do you need to get your affairs in order? And he would have said, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And they would say, okay, you report on this date. And then he would have had that time to have some closure, set things up, ease out into his new surroundings. Now he's just ripped out of his world, stuck into that one. And that's where he's staying until this is over.
Well, he's lucky they gave him the extra day, right, to go out and go home and say goodbye. This is a tough one for me because I like Aaron a lot. I've always had really good back and forth with him, good communication. I don't dismiss at all what the original crime was, right? Because we can't forget about that, right? You're selling people things that you shouldn't be selling. You're mislabeling things knowingly. And that's wrong in every capacity. I don't sell, I sell chicken. I don't tell you it's filet mignon and then sell you chicken or whatever it is, right? Or do it to try to boost my sales and increase, put myself ahead of every other supplement company. It's wrong. And he knew it was wrong and he should pay, a penalty for that. All that being said, with his cooperation, right, from what I understand, he was cooperating. He would have gotten a diminished sentence, and then he acted completely irresponsibly. I don't think the family's off limits, Dave. You and I talked a little bit off camera on how, it's sad. I didn't like to see that. And you're right. There's other people who are just destroying him on this. I refrain from doing that. I don't want to bash Aaron for that. I can't imagine how I would feel if I was being taken away from my wife and my daughter at this point in time. So I can't comment on how he acted, whether it was responsible or not, because look, I'm not in that situation, thankfully, and I hope to never be in that kind of situation. I don't disagree, John. I think there's a certain level of selfishness, but that's kind of exemplified in what the original crime was, right?
He could have right from the beginning made a deal, and I'm sure if he would have made the deal right from the beginning with the prosecutor, his sentence would have been way, way, way lower. And he would probably be almost done with the whole thing by now.
Dave, I think you said it right. He's a smart enough guy to do really, really well without having to lie about what's on a label and then all the extracurricular stuff. Like he could have just So legit products. I mean, you sell legit products.
Yeah.
It's
you know what, Carlo? The truth is, it doesn't matter. He made the mistakes, and they made the mistake years ago. They didn't do it. You know, the Redcon, from as far as I know, is pretty legit. But when he was at Blackstone, they made a mistake. But once they got caught, they should have just gone right to the prosecutor and said, "You got us. Sorry,
right. I
let's
agree.
make a deal." And I guarantee it would have been way lower. The fact that they dragged it on for 4 years and you know, made it worse, really, is you know, and then he wasn't being low key. You know, he had a Christmas party at Mar-a-Lago. You know, before you don't do that before you get sentenced. You know, to go to prison. I mean, it doesn't really, you know.
Well, can you show some level of humility?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't think so.
Can you show some level of humility for all the people? You know, I mean, people know he was being interviewed by somebody. I forgot the website. It was one of those natural vitamin websites, and he was on a video chat or whatever it was. Yeah. And you know, he hung up on the lady, and the lady was like, "Well, you know, your company's, you were accused of whatever mislabeling stuff," and he hung up. And again, all of that stuff is frustrating because I know Aaron. I think he's a nice guy. You know, I think he's a good guy, but you know, you said it right. You should have just come clean. But how about when you got the first letter and saying, "Hey, this stuff's not supposed to be in your product"? How about you just stop right then and there? Forget about coming clean.
Whoever, you know what, Carlo, whoever was advising him 100% wrong from the get-go because they were appealing to his self-absorption and ego.
Yep.
Because it's only your ego. You know, when you get a letter from the IRS and it says you owe $500, most people have a heart attack, you know, or $5,000. And
I get letters like that all the time. I panic.
The idea, you know, that you're going to beat the federal government in a case like this, where, well, as you said, I mean, he knows what he was doing, right? I mean, it's not like this is all just one big misunderstanding. You know, he was putting anabolics into, you know, vitamins and selling them. And you know what? It's easy to get when supplements work as good as anabolics because they are anabolics. It's easy to get the repeat sale. And as you know, in the chicken business or any business, the hardest part, the step number one, is getting the capital. So it's easy to get capital when you're selling a product that works so well that it works better than all your competitors, because you're not competing with your competitors.
Right.
You're spiking it with something that works far better than your competitors. So take that into consideration. And then moving along to the idea that you can beat the government, that's like your ego on steroids. Only an ego that's massive, that or grand delusion, would put you in a position that you're in where you think, okay, no problem. I'll just get a lawyer and, you know, I'll beat this. And that's what lawyers do. They look
you think the lawyers set him a tail, Chris?
No, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Of course. Lawyer looked at him and said, how much money you want to give me? Any lawyer, many lawyers would. And Aaron says, I will give you as much, whatever it takes to get me out of this mess.
Right.
And the lawyer, believe me, guaranteed, knows all along, I'm going to string him along and then I'm going to cop a deal. But then your ego, you know, if you have a big ego, you're into this and you're thinking, you know, your business is still going good. Things are going good. Your friends are still in your corner. Your family's still in your corner. And you think, I can really beat them. And your lawyer all along is taking the checks, and he's trying to all of a sudden talk you into, you know, we can get you off with a year or 2 or 3. And then they go all the way to the finish line and they say, you know what, you're going to go away for a long time unless you change your plea right away. So, you know, that's what many lawyers do. They appeal to people like that who think. It's crazy to think so. Really, it's almost illogical to think I can beat them.
Right.
Well, I think in this case they had the added. I think in this case they had the added element of Jared Weed having beaten the feds already once, and I think that example was so close to them with respect to Blackstone that they probably were enamored by the fact that, well, yeah, Jared beat him. We could beat him too with same lawyer, or whatever. Probably, I don't know if it was the same lawyer, but same mindset, because it was very close to them, because Jared he beat him. That doesn't mean to say that you're going to beat him every time. It's like it's actually like getting struck by lightning. Beating the feds is like getting struck by lightning. Okay, that's how rare it is. Okay, and the fact that you think you're going to do it twice is nuts.
Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson in his heyday.
This
Right.
case was a slam dunk. It was a slam dunk from the beginning for the feds. And you know what? All his co-defendants turned, so they all were witnesses. They knew that. I mean, how do you beat a case when you have the people who were working for you corroborating all the evidence that the feds had? I don't know. It was silly. But you know what? Whatever the play was there, that's fine. But you know what? Aaron's going to do. He's going to be punished. We don't know what the sentence will be. We'll find out January 27th what him and PJ are sentenced to. But the bottom line is that the people that are suffering, it's who's left. I mean, think about his 3 kids. They could conceivably not see him for 5 to 7 years. I mean,
whatever. They're not seeing him. He's not coming home.
No.
They remanded him to custody till sentencing. That's it. He is not coming out.
Explain where he is now. There, he's in a holding pen. Now, would that be with the general population of federal?
No. He's in. Well, wait. The state revoked his bail, right? So he's in. He is
federal though, John.
What's that?
It's a federal. He's in federal holding in West Palm Beach. Now.
Okay, so that's Metropolitan Detention Center then. So yeah, that's I spent 9 months in the LA version of that. So yeah, it's the Fed version of county jail. It sucks. They treat you all like level 6, serial murderer. And you're all treated at that high level the same.
Would he be in a jail cell, or would he be in a dorm like situation?
The way I was, there was a day room, and then you had a cell with another guy. So they locked you in at night, and then they opened this. They opened the cell door at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you could go into the day room, they call it.
Dave, you have to take the whole entire company back to take a calculated risk to what he did in the first place. Right. People forget that. When you're doing something that is illegal, it's illegal. In the back of your mind that you could potentially get caught. Mm-hmm. Aaron's probably not the first person ever, I'm sure, to do what he did. But some people get caught and some don't. It's just like taxes. Some people don't pay their fair share. Some people don't pay any. Some people go scot-free 30 years, screwing the government on taxes. And, they know that what they're doing is illegal. Maybe they make it, as time goes on, they quote, steal less of their taxes, pay some taxes, but they know. They know. And, whether they transform what they're doing and start paying taxes, they took some type of risk at the beginning. And, so it's odd that it's treated by a lot of people like it's like almost like a misunderstanding, or it was like no big deal. A lot of capital can be made illegally at the beginning, and you can take that money and legitimize your business.
Right.
So
wash it. You're washing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just there's a lot of responsibility to be taken, and I understand completely the idea, that Carlo and you family should be off limits. This is like in the make-believe world. We're in social media now. Nothing is off limits, for God's sakes.
Let me ask you a question, guys. All right, so he's going to be sentenced on January 27th, him and PJ, and they may have the option of asking, or requesting where they are incarcerated. Now, a lot of people who get put in federal prison in Florida like to go to Tallahassee. There's a prison up there, I believe. That's like the cushy place to go. But that's a far ride, right? I mean, or Pensacola, I think it is. Pensacola, sorry. And there is a Miami Corrections Institute, which would obviously be much closer to his house. If you were in his situation and you had to do 5 to 7 years, let's say, just for instance, we don't know what the sentence is yet. would you go to a cushier place like up there, upstate, or would you go closer to your family where you'd maybe have a better chance of seeing your kids on a regular basis?
Cushy.
Why?
Because his kids will and his wife will drive 3,000 miles if they need to go see him on a daily basis. That's
I don't know.
when
Chris. You know what
Dave,
happens.
okay, let me put it this way. Would you put your kids are in a hospital and they're going to be there for 2 years or whatever? So, Dave, when you driving 800 miles to see someone you love is nothing. Time goes by in 2 seconds.
Not
on
a regular basis, not for 7 years, Chris.
To know, okay, so the decision's got to be made tomorrow, and you're a spouse, and you want to decide for your spouse, do I want them in a dangerous place or a less dangerous place? You will always pick the less dangerous and more comfortable place, and you will say, I don't care, I will drive whatever distance it takes to... I mean, there's no love there if you can't drive 800 miles up to Tallahassee, whatever it is, 600 miles.
Chris, people have lives.
Wait, whoa. The test of love is not how far away the prison is from home. The test of love is what's going to happen during that period of time that, they're going to be separated. Now, some people can say, well, 3 years, if I can stay separated from my wife, maybe we can hang on together. Who knows? 5 is pushing it, 6 or 7. You're talking about 7, 8, 10-year sentences. Those marriages do not last. So the driving, that's inconsequential. Go where it's comfortable because you're going to be alone no matter what after a while. So personally, when I was in prison, I didn't want to see anybody. I wanted nobody coming to see me. I just wanted to be left alone, do my time, get this thing over with. And I don't want to be, taunted and teased by what's going on in the outside world. Just close yourself off, do your time, and be done with it. So,
Carlo, you're a father with a young daughter. What would you do?
Well, I would, if I was in Aaron's situation, I would relocate my family closer to the cushiest place so that they can come and see me.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah,
but that's what I would do. I mean,
well, they got a business though.
Aaron's not hurting for
school,
money.
Though, Carlo.
Yeah, no, I understand all that. Look, I kind of agree with both John and Chris here, right? Like I think that Aaron, for his own sake and well-being, you want to be in the cushiest place. Number one, but you also want to make sure that you withstand the test of time here, right? Like we don't know, and we assume that their relationship, from what I know, their marriage is strong. Gariel seems to be completely into him, and he into her, and we hope that as a married man, I would hope that he and his wife do make it through. They have 3 kids together. But, I think John's kind of right. When you get to years 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and, he's not there, and he's, what happens there? You don't know. But if it were me and I would relocate him. And so what? Listen, you change schools, If you really want to be able to see me on the weekends or whatever visitation is, then that's how you'll do it.
Lee, what would you do?
I'd keep it very simple, Dave. Like me, I'm very simple and basic. I'd say, listen, baby, I'm going away for 6 or 7 years. While I'm gone, if you get dick, it's okay because I'll be getting it in here.
I'm talking about your kids. What prison do you go to? The close one, or do you go to the one that's cushier?
Kids don't matter. It's irrespective. You're just in jail. You're getting dick. She's getting dick. You worry about that when you get out. End of story. Go to counselling when you get out and try to work it all out. Who knows? When you get out, you might like Bob instead of your wife. So who knows? You might swing the other way.
It's definitely happened.
You have to think of the kids. With the kids out, you have to think. Okay, you got the kids.
Yeah.
You have to see. Like, it'd be nice if the kids would come and visit you, but then what does that put on the kids coming into a place like that to see their father? Is it more stressful for the kids to do that, or are they just happy to see? So you'd have to. Yeah, but still, going into a place like that, knowing your father's locked up, could still affect some children where they go see him, but then they have to leave him knowing he's there, and they only get to see him a certain amount of time. So sometimes that could be worse than not seeing him. So
that's that's the way I look at it. It's worse. Just Dave, you used to see it. The families coming there and the visiting room and the
Look, I was in, and I had no family. I had a girlfriend. That was it. It was 5 months. It was 20 weeks. It was a joke, for me. It sucked, but you know what? I didn't want anyone coming to visit me. But if I was the father of 3 children who could be doing, up to 5 or maybe more years in prison, and I had a very good relationship with my kids like Aaron does and my wife, I know you have to be a fool to think that they're going to drive 8 hours each way, okay, every single week. It ain't going to happen. It's going to be the first 6 months, they'll come frequently, and then it will just die off, and they'll come once every 6 months, and then it'll be once a year. And because it becomes too much. The kids have sports, the kids have this, they have school, they want to hang out with their friends. They don't want to drive 16 hours in a car and stay in a little motel and to go see daddy for an hour or two. And that's just the way it is. However, if they're close, even if Aaron is not going to be in the cushiest environment, he's still going to be in a low security, probably camp in Miami. Might not be the same level type of people that he would have upstate, but it's not going to be dangerous. There's no violence in a low, security.
Yeah, but over 5 years, you don't get camp.
No, he's going to get a low, John. He's not a violent offender. He's not a violent offender. He's going to get a low.
No, but if he's when I was getting sentenced, the cutoff was 5 years. If you were under 5 years, you could go to camp. Over 5 years, you were like level 2 automatically, and you were behind the wall. Yeah. So, if he gets a 7-8 year sentence, he's spending some of it in a penitentiary before he gets to go to camp.
Are they allowed, like now these days, how they have phone calls? Are they allowed like FaceTime and that if you can't visit, like computers to talk like this? Or
I think it's still a phone. I believe. I don't know. I know they can do emails.
FaceTime or.
A lot of these guys have phones in prison now. I don't, you don't want to get caught with one, but I know there are phones in prison.
It sure is.
I would not risk it personally if I were these guys, because if you're doing 5 or 6 years, and you're going to get 80% for good time, you don't want to lose that good time and then wind up having to do 100% of your sentence. So it's not worth getting caught, I don't think.
And they will catch you.
Yeah, someone will rat you out. You know that, right. John.
If not, if you don't get ratted out, they will catch you. They toss your bunk, and it's only so many hiding places in 17 cubic feet, so that you get. So, it doesn't work.
I would want my kids as close to me as possible so that they can come easily to come visit me, because I would want to have a relationship with those kids so that when I do get out, they don't think that I was an absentee father, or they may think that anyway. But
you were an absentee father.
No, you know what? If I see them every week, and I can tell them I love them, that's going to be a lot. Keep a bond there. Whereas if I see them once every 6 months, I'm going to become a stranger to them, especially the young ones.
Personally, I wouldn't want my kids going through that.
So, John, you don't want them to see it all? You think that's going to help your relationship with them when you get out? No way.
It's part of the punishment. It's part of the deal. It's part of the punishment. When you decide to do a crime, you need to assess all of the far-reaching aspects of what can be, accountable to you.
Say that again, John.
What's that?
It's remarkably simple, but you should say it again. It really is.
You have to foresee all of the potential downfalls to what you could be doing, and you have to accept those. If you accept them, then you do the crime. If you can't accept them, and if you're worried about your kids and your wife and your girlfriend and all of this shit, then maybe you shouldn't be breaking the law. It's pretty simple.
I agree with that 100%. Sure.
I don't think you have to see someone every week to be able to remember them, or to have. Just because you can see someone every week doesn't mean you have to see them every single week to, you know, to keep the bond going. I mean, it may get repetitive. Here we are Friday. We're here Friday. We're here Friday. Sometimes, I mean, it's.
Well, wouldn't you, Chris? If you were, wouldn't you want to know what was going on with your kids in school and sports and all this stuff? Wouldn't you?
Yeah,
want to
you know, Dave, you can communicate. You can write letters. You know, it's sometimes
good luck having a kid write a letter in this day.
But do you have to
well,
wonder?
you know what? Maybe that's, you know what? Actually, you'd be surprised. I mean, kids aren't dumb. They can still express themselves through writing, and even if it's a picture. I mean, a picture from a little kid with a crayon. I don't know how old those kids are. You know, Daddy, I love you, probably holds more weight than having to go to, even if it's 10 feet next door in Miami, and go and sit and look at your father in a jumpsuit and say, like, what's going on here?
Exactly. That
shit's
brutal for the kid.
Sometimes
I mean, John had, you know, there's some, I guess I'm to some odd way agreeing with John, is that, you know, John wouldn't want to see him at all. I mean, to me, that's a little extreme, but you can still, you know, keep a strong bond, you know, with anyone you love, and not have to see them all the time.
And it's degrading. I don't want my kids coming to see me in a cage. You know, I mean, that's.
In these sort of cases, though, to always, like, say we're blaming Aaron for all this stuff or whoever, but in a lot of these cases where people have partners, how much did the partner know too? Did the partner know what was being going on? Did the partner know what was being sold? And whether it be drugs, you know, on any type of thing, but they like that lifestyle too. They like the money coming in, so they put up with it. So it's not just Aaron or whoever it may be doing the bad thing. Their partner is almost like a partner in crime, because they like the spoils, the fruits of the labor of this illegal activity.
Well, it was the whole team. The whole team was, you know, the whole team was there. I mean, they indicted a bunch of them.
Yeah, it wasn't just
look,
the two of them.
You know, look, I'm a business owner, right? I got a Dodge Durango the other day, okay? And it was a big deal for me that I got a Dodge Durango. Like, these guys are driving around in Ferraris, and multiple Ferraris, different colors. And you know, like, I get it. And it's nice to celebrate your victories, and it's nice to do well. But, you know, I think all in all, this will teach all of them a little bit of humility. And I think it'll be a good thing. I do feel bad for Ariel and the kids. I feel terrible for them, because those kids are going to grow up essentially without their father present. And that hurts. John, I do understand what you're saying, that bringing a kid into a jail cell, and, you know, I can't fully disagree with you there, is not the best place to create a bond. You know, having that impression set into a child, you don't know what kind of, you know, what that's going to do and how that's going to resonate with them through their lives, right? But, you know, look, they're going to go away. Aaron's going to go away. I think PJ's next, right?
They're going to be sentenced together, yeah, the 27th, yeah.
Right. So he's on the list now to go away. You know, look, at the end of the day, they're going to have to ask themselves, was this all worth it, what they put their families through? Because you're right, Chris, it is the day of social media, right? And as much as that social media helped your business do this, it's making your family do this when you went down, right? Like, as much as social media drove your business, because that's essentially what happened. Social media drove their business. Okay, now social media is hurting Darielle and the kids. And, you know, I personally wouldn't be doing videos and doing anything to hurt them or laugh at them or anything like that, or laugh at even Aaron or PJ. That's not my style. Unfortunately, it's happening. And I just hope that at the end of their day, when they've served their time, they can evaluate whether what they did and the risks that they took were worth it for them.
Yeah, I disagree with you, John, though. I really believe that, as disgusting, you know, as the idea that they have to come to a jail cell, you know, or jail, prison, to see their father, I think that you got to have that connection, man. It's going to ruin these kids if they don't have a connection to their father. You know, even though it's in a negative, like, type of situation and it's not ideal, you know, they got to know that their father loves them, and they got to keep that.
Well, I mean, I agree with you to some extent with that, but I think, as Chris said, there's other ways to maintain that that relationship, and and I think it matters what the kids want. I mean, are the kids old enough to decide what do I want to see daddy in the visiting room of the jail where he's wearing his khaki suit,
John, you were in prison. You remember when you used to get letters when you first got in there, the mail would come out and they go mail call, and everyone comes around and they throw the letters out to everyone. And
maybe I'm an anomaly.
When you first get in there, you get a million letters. And then now I was there a short period of time, but I knew guys that were in there for like 3, 4, 5 years. They weren't getting anything anymore because people were just tired and fatigued over the fact that they've been in prison so long.
That's why I don't know. Maybe I'm an anomaly in this situation. I didn't want letters. I didn't want visits. I didn't want anything from anybody. I never even made any phone calls.
How old were you though? You were young though, weren't you?
I was 35.
Are you the same age as me?
No, 28.
Yeah, but John, did you live with your daughter and were you married at the time?
I was engaged at the time, and no, I didn't have any kids at the time. So
yeah, I mean that's different. It's different. I know.
Yeah.
If I had no kids and I whatever, if I was engaged, not a wife, I'd be a little more like you too. I'd be like, you know what, just leave me alone. Let me do my time and let me get the hell out of here. I'll talk when I'm out if you want to talk to me. It's a sticky situation. It's sad for the kids, and I can just leave it at that.
You got to see what they got to go through. I mean, they got to line up outside. They got to get searched. They got everybody's got to wait, and it's not a pleasant. Visiting a prisoner is not a pleasant field trip. It's a pain in the ass, and it's degrading, and it's a tremendous hassle to have to put somebody through to come and see you. So yeah. I can't speak to having had kids at the time. I just know my personality type, and if I had to be put in that situation, which I wanted to be left out of the world, gone. And then I'll come back later when it's over.
Because you had no responsibility at that point, John. You didn't have any kids or anything. There was nothing to really.
I agree. That's an element I would have had to wrestle with. But to see what kids had to go through to visit their father in prison, I don't think I would want to put my kids.
And that's a good point, Dave. You didn't have responsibility of a wife and kids. So if you got a wife and kids, you shouldn't be in that fucking situation to begin with.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the sort of shit you do when you're single. You get up to silly shit like that when you're single. Once you get to the wife and kid part,
that's
it's time to change your life.
That's very important, that point.
Do you think that people watching this whole scenario unfold over the last couple of years, you think that has, like, if you're in a company and maybe you're doing something a little underhanded like now and you're looking at this, you think people are like trying to clean up their act? Do you think that they have the mentality like, it's not going to happen to me, that type of thing?
No one ever thinks it's going to happen to them. Mm-hmm. On any level of any risk taking, people usually, they don't conceptualize what the risk is. That's why I asked John to repeat that little statement. It was like brilliant, of when you engage in risky behavior, any risky behavior, you impact yourself and a lot of people when you're breaking the law.
Yep.
So I don't think people weigh out those things, whatsoever.
Nope. No, it's a very selfish. It's a very selfish.
I mean, the people engage in it, Dave, because the people who weigh it out is the people who just don't do it, who may have the opportunity to do it.
Right.
I mean, Dave, I used to have my boat in Miami, and someone came to me one time and wanted to rent the boat, and they wanted me to drive the boat, and they wanted to go out on a midnight cruise, and they wanted me to pay me an enormous amount of money. And
at least they weren't driving themselves.
No, right? it doesn't take a lot to add up, 1 + 1. It still equals 2. What they were saying is, we got to take your boat and we're going to go out without saying it. We're going to meet someone in the middle of the night off Miami, and we're going to get some drugs and bring it back, and we're going to pay you $60,000.
That's what they wanted to pay you? $60,000?
And how easy is that? And you weigh it. You either instantaneously. I mean, you either immediately deny it.
John would have done it.
Or you
would have done it.
Or you weigh it. You know what I mean? And John says it brilliantly. When you weigh it out, you know there's huge negatives, all kinds of negatives,
Mhm.
and what is the impact? And it's easy to. I always think back to that because I was young, and I thought, God, I should have been at that point young and stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I was just young and not so stupid to be able to say no. And I didn't entertain it. And I think back all the time, what if I had and something had gone wrong? But it didn't enter
Well-
my stratosphere of making a decision.
Well, can we? And that's great, Chris. Right, but did Aaron actually ever admit to do any of that? And that's the part that bothers me a little bit, is because he initially denied all of it. Right, like he said that they didn't actually do what the feds accused them of doing. If you remember, maybe I don't know, Dave. If you don't want to go there, that's fine. But
no, the problem is that there's a paper trail a mile long, Carlo. They did what they said that they're doing. I think what they were trying to originally, their contention was that the substances were not illegal technically. I think that was the argument. They were going to try to argue that the stuff wasn't illegal technically. It wasn't a controlled substance. The problem is that they mislabeled things, whether it was legal or not. They changed documents and they changed ingredients, and so there was no way to beat that. I mean,
Yeah, well, actually, there was. Okay, what happens is in any of these cases, if not all of them, you get a letter. The very first thing you get is a letter. You get a nice letter from the DEA or the FDA or the whatever regulatory body you violated. You get a letter from them, and it says, "Dear Mr. Smith, you are breaking the law. Please stop. Thank you. If you don't, we're going to come after you."
Right.
That right there is what you do. You take that letter and you stop what you're doing.
Right.
Okay. Any movement past that letter that you do, any 1 minute past that letter that you still do what you're doing, you're a fucking idiot, because you're going to go. That was your key. That was your pass. You were going to get out of it right there. But if you didn't take that pass, then.
Oh, John, it goes right back to ego.
Yep.
yeah. So,
I mean,
so how much of the bashing,
there's
right?
no other.
Sorry, Chris.
There's no other, way to put it other than that, and then the impact, stems from all that. Imagine that if you can go back in time and just get the letter and just say, okay, enough is enough.
Right.
Because.
Right.
And
So
that's why I said, Dave.
successful.
You know what, Dave? It's always good to have somebody in your corner when you're doing business that is not in your business, that you can ask anything and everything to. Because when that letter came out, he should not have been calling a lawyer, because a lawyer would give you gobbledygook bullshit.
Sure. Right.
And send you the bill. You always have to have somebody you can call and you say, you got a minute? I got this letter. And there's always someone 10 times smarter than you, 10 times more experienced in business, who can say, listen, I don't know what exactly the details, but send it to me. And any smart person with experience would have said, just as John said, stop.
Chris, John and I have a very, very good mutual friend, I won't mention his name, who told them to stop, and they didn't listen.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. A very good person who you would want to listen to. Tell them that.
Yep.
Listen, Dave, it's unrelated, but you see in the Bronx, the families that died, who in that apartment fire recently.
Yeah.
They died because there was a small fire and the damn doors to the apartment built to the actual units weren't self-closing.
Crazy.
As a landlord, that keeps me. It doesn't keep me up at night, but almost does. It's on my list to actually check every single damn door.
Right.
To see if they self-close. So, there's always, the point is there's always, you can't run through things and pretend they're not there. Whether you're doing landlord business, you're selling chicken, and there's red flags. Carlo gets a letter to, you're not keeping the damn chicken at the right temperature, between the time it leaves your place and it reaches Chris Aceto at his house in Maine. It has to be kept, frozen at the right temperature. And you can't pretend like, well, that's not my fault just because the trucks, we got supply chains and, there's less truckers delivering stuff. There's always red flags. And, when someone sends you an obvious letter and says stop, and, they have all the guns, you stop.
Right.
And to that point, Chris, Dave, what I was trying to say before was, how much of the bashing that's going on with Aaron is because of the way it went down. Because people do know the history of this case, right? I know the history, and I don't, I'm not looking for information, but I happen to know that they received letters to stop. They didn't stop, and they continued on with what I think is arrogance, right? It's not the way I do business. Dave, I know it's not the way you do business, right? Like somebody contacts you, you're going to stop. Chris, somebody walks in, an inspector walks in and says, hey, it's not 165, it's 164. It better be 165. I don't tell my guys, don't listen to them, cook it at 164. I tell them, guys, 165, or we're going to be in trouble here, right? Yeah. So I think the way they went around it is probably what's causing a lot of the backlash and a lot of the, I guess, whatever you want to call it, hatred, whatever.
Carl, I told Aaron years ago when he worked for me, I said, one thing that you have to be and this is good advice for anyone out there. I said, no matter how successful you are, and I consider myself a successful, businessman in life, whatever, never like portray yourself as being better than anyone else. I said, and don't brag about what you have. It's okay to show, if you're driving around in a nice car, that's fine, but you don't have to don't rub people's face in it, because it sends a message of that you're better than them, and people don't really resonate well with that. And why would you want to put yourself above someone else anyway? I mean, why not say, hey, you know what? Here I am. I'm successful, and let me show you how to be successful too. It's so I don't think he got the message. I told him on numerous occasions, and he did tone it down a little bit. But I think a lot of Aaron's success was, and I don't know if this was because he had some drug problems early in life, and he was a smart guy that never really went to school, but he kind of learned on his own. And maybe he wanted to get validation from people. It seemed like he needed a lot of validation from people, and that's what happened. You certainly don't want the judge who's sentencing you to think that you're arrogant and that that you would do it again. If you had the opportunity and you have no regrets. I mean, that's not
the last two DUIs didn't help that now, did it?
No, but I'm saying the guy had a Christmas party at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it's great that your company's doing well. I mean, I'm so proud of what he accomplished legitimately with Redcon. I mean, it's amazing. But I mean, you're getting sentenced in 4 weeks to go to jail. I mean, you don't really need to be. You should be a little more humble, I think.
Well, he should have a party at his house with his family, and kept it there. And again, it's why be so high profile?
Or don't put it on social media. How about that, Carlo?
I'm sorry.
Don't put it on social media if you want to have
right, or have it and keep it private. Right, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to handle it. And Dave, I just know that you and I would handle it a lot different if it was us. Yeah. Nobody's telling you not to have a party. I had a Christmas event at my place, for my staff, and it was on the waterfront in New Jersey, overlooking the New York skyline. We had a nice time, but we didn't have to put pictures of where we were and all that other stuff.
You're a humble guy, Carlo. That's why.
When people see that, it rubs them the wrong way, and it causes them to do the things that they're doing, laughing at you now. And it's sad. It's sad on all levels. It really just is.
I'm sorry, Lee. Go ahead.
You're right. I have a good T-shirt. It says "Stay humble or be humbled." It says it all. That's all it says on this T-shirt I have. Stay humble or be humbled. That's
to that point. I mean, what was Aaron's goodbye to his family? I mean, he had his bail was revoked. He was taken into custody. They're not going to see him now until his sentence is over. So, on the other side of that, he would have had he behaved, he would have gotten sentenced. He would have gotten a date to surrender, and he would have been able to manage his affairs, had some intimate time with his family, with his wife, said goodbye, had a couple nice memories, to build before, this is before he had to self-surrender, and all those opportunities now are gone. He was plucked out of his life the other day, and he's staying out.
You know what, John? Knowing Aaron, it was probably the best way they did it, because I think Aaron could have, who knows what, you could have overdosed or something like that on like drinking too much alcohol, because I think it was the stress.
Strike three was coming, Dave. Strike three was coming.
Yeah.
Because
I'm glad that they pulled him out before something bad happened, to be honest with you, because God forbid he got into a car accident with a kid in the car or something like that, or
100% right.
Yep, I agree.
The judge did the right thing in hindsight.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. This is what has he got? Another 10 days?
Well, this was a chipper cheery show, wasn't it now?
Well, I mean, we had to address, I know Aaron's wife is not happy that I'm talking about this, but you know what the truth is, that it's important, because you know what? It happened. Aaron is a very big player in the bodybuilding world. And you know what? It's important that people understand the story and how it went about. No one's glorifying and gloating over this. I think it's a terrible thing, and I feel terrible for his family that they have to go through this. Because
David, it should be a one,
it's a wake up call. It should be
well,
for
I mean,
everyone out there.
it's one thing to be doing something or have done something illegal, but it's when you quote, when you on social media display your family, when your family is displayed as ornaments with regard to your success, then unfortunately they become
fair game.
Fair game. I was going to say open game.
Yep, you're right.
You don't see Jamie Dimon at Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan rather. You don't see him on his social media. You don't see his kids at all. Maybe graduation from college and that's it. Because they're not, while they're impacted with his success, they're not part of his success. They're not part of the business. So, it's just the day and age we're at right now. That's why people think they're fair game. They think they're fair game because, of course, they're fair game to someone who's, seeing them as displayed in such a way.
Right.
So, it could be a lesson to people, who I mean, it seems like it makes sense to someone who sees them that way.
Right.
So, I can understand like Aaron's wife being upset, but at the same time, it's a product or a byproduct of how you've co-created the company.
Right. The good news, Chris, is in 6 months, no one will even remember any of this. So that's social media is for you right there in a nutshell. People won't even remember anything about what was happening. Eddie's even in jail. They won't even know.
I came on here. I thought we were going to talk bodybuilding, Olympia predictions, and we talk about this shit. I just don't know what's going on anymore.
Get that stupid thing off. To come full circle before we wrap this whole thing up, getting back to the 400-pound bodybuilder, I wanted to ask one more question about that. If there was a guy in today's bodybuilding world who could reach 400 pounds legitimately, not like a fat slob I'm talking about. We know Lee can do that already, but I'm talking about legitimately hit 400 pounds. Who would it be?
Rico McTaco.
Who?
Rico McTaco.
Do you think there's a guy out there in today's world who could do 400 pounds?
No.
If there's a bodybuilder out there that has those original Aaron Singerman products that came out on the market and he uses them, I reckon he could probably get the 400 pounds.
Carlo, could Ramy get the 400 pounds off season?
Yes, I do. I think he could.
I think he could too.
I think he could. Absolutely. I mean, if he ate enough and all that stuff. I was going to say the only person who today could get close is Ramy.
What was that beefcake supplement they had on
trying to get to 275 shredded to win the Olympia.
Chris, what's the giant guy that you helped? Jamie the Giant?
Who?
Who's the guy you helped? Jamie the Giant? Isn't
from Canada, Jamie?
No, I didn't. I never helped Jimmy.
No, who's the
Milos
guy from?
helps-
I think it's from
Milos
England. Don't you
helps
help a
that
guy?
No, I never helped anyone tall.
No, who's that big freaky guy you work with, Chris?
Tall?
He's a freak. The guy. He's the biggest guy in the IFBB right now. He turned pro like I think last year, or the year before that. What the hell? What's his name?
Dave's taking too much stimuli.
No, guys, help me out here in the comments.
What was?
Yeah, Morgan Asti. Morgan Asti.
Oh, Morgan.
what was-
No, Morgan was.
Sid
No, 'cause
coming
he was
through,
only. I mean, he was. No, because he 340 in the offseason, 301. He was 301 on stage this year, and he's 6'4".
Right, but what
What
about
was
off season?
Frigno?
Can he get to
What was
340.
Frigno
No, I
off-season?
mean, 40. Does he really need to go higher than 340 to bring it down to? He was a crazy peel to 301.
He can get
What
the
was
400. Get him
Frigno
to
off
400,
season?
Chris. Come on.
Well, I think
Send me the kit, Dave. Stop bullshitting that you don't have the kit. Just send it to me.
I think we need to reword this. Okay. Anybody out there that's like in the 300s, we want you to push it to 4. So Dave, we just want you to do it. So
You'll get a species contract, John. For
yes, you'll get a species.
There's Morgan at. I think he was 306 at this show.
All right, so off season he's got to be at least 350, Chris,
Yeah, he'd be good in the WWE.
and he can hold a lot more muscle, Chris, on that body. Let's get him up to 400, Chris.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
do
What was? It's like I
I'm
said.
gonna-
What was?
Dave, I'm
what
just going to
was
keep him
Frigno-
there
Frigno off-season?
and give Hardy a text message and Jimmy up the Dells.
Don't stop holding him back, Chris. We want to see 400 pounds here already. Come on, man.
Yeah, Chris, why are you holding us back?
Chris is
John,
taking away all the fun.
I have one question to Romano about in prison. What do you do? Read?
Yes, a lot. Well, I was with Dan Duchesne, so
324 here, Chris.
320.
324. Yeah.
He's only
maybe-
what?
Dave's not letting this go.
Yeah, but Lee was 285 at 5'5".
He's
So
only about
Yeah.
70 pounds away, Chris. You can get him there. Come on.
So what
Shredded
size
here.
mileized shirts is he going to wear?
Lee, send him some
My
Kentucky
life.
Fried Chicken gift certificates.
God, his back is retarded. Look at
When
that.
when Frigno made his comeback, what was he? 320 or what?
Yeah, what was he?
He
John?
was 318 on stage.
No, what was the off
So
season?
what was he off? What was he off season then?
I think 340.
Yeah, he could have gotten to 400, I bet.
yeah, he could have. Yeah, he
Rolf-
could have.
Louis could have done
Rolf
400.
Moller.
yeah.
Rolf Moller was heavy because of his height. I remember Rolf
Right.
Moller was what
Rolf,
300 or so, wasn't he?
I'm going to text Louis like that when we get up. Well, I'll text him to. Well, it's early.
Tell him to make another comeback, hit 400.
I'm going to say, Louis, if you would have kept going, could you have hit 400? I bet he says yes.
Oh boy.
I actually could have seen. I could see that Lou hitting 400.
Yeah.
6'5", right? 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah,
He was a
Yeah,
freak.
he could have-
He had a
Louis
big
could have
brain,
easy.
too.
He was a freak.
Yeah.
if Louis pushed it, like when he
Yeah,
when he
had
made
that-
the comeback, he looked so
that
freaky at the
Long
comeback.
chest, big
Mhm.
traps.
Incredible looking.
Look at that.
Yeah, when he came back like that, if he was like in the younger days and had to push it to be bigger, he could have pushed it when he was younger, I reckon.
That's what I'm saying. But they didn't even have the drugs back then. Imagine if Louis had all the access to all the GH when he was
He
younger.
was on
Lee-
Mega
Lee-
Mass 8,000.
Lee, I saw him about 4 months before his comeback, or maybe it was 6 months, and 8 months. I mean, he looked like a mutant. I bet he was close to 390.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
he did not need to come to 318. He could have definitely been on stage at
Yeah.
like,
He was actually flat at that
340.
show, right?
oh my God,
Yeah.
40.
Gibbs.
The second,
Carlo-
the second show, he was even flatter.
Carlo, if you had seen him at 380, you'd say like, okay, 5 pounds of fat and 6
Yeah,
pounds
he's
of
ready
water,
to
you're
go.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He-
because
he
he's got
looked
the
like
body
a-
parts to hold that much weight, right? With
Yeah.
the traps, the chest.
Round,
Like-
round.
Yeah.
He's got legs. He had legs at that weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has like.
Incredible
Ask
looking.
him, Dave. I reckon he would have had to be close to 370 before that comeback. Easy.
I'm going to ask him what the heaviest he was.
I bet he
I
says 360.
You think so? Because Louis never got fat. That was the whole thing,
No.
John.
Never.
If Lee was Louis' size, his height, Lee would have been 450.
500. 500.
500.
Dave, Louis is going to start a company called the Tuna Pen. What's the name of it? Is it Chicken Pen?
Chicken pound.
Chicken
Chicken
pound.
Pound. The tuna pound.
No, he's giving me the tuna ton.
Dave,
All
did
right.
you sit next to Louis? Tell about to sit next to Louis in first class and him eating the tuna fish.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, Chris,
Yeah.
John saw
That
that. Yeah.
smelled
I
nice.
was on the plane with them for that.
I saw him too do that. I saw
In
him
the
with a muscle mag. He was reading it, and he had his Tupperware on his lap.
Yeah, I was at the curtain was right there between coach and he's in the middle aisle in the middle section in first class, and he's got this big giant Tupperware. It's like with an orange lid on it, like your mom has, you know. And he's eating the tuna fish. The whole cabin stinks of he's got 5 different bodybuilding magazines on the floor on his lap. You know?
He's the greatest. He's so hardcore. Even to this day, I guarantee he's watching this show. I know he loves all the stuff we do. He always comments. He probably listens to the show, and that's why we love Louis so much.
Send him the chicken, John. I mean,
bodybuilder's
Send him
bodybuilder.
the chicken.
That was the beautiful thing about it. That was the beautiful.
Yeah.
Listen,
I was just saying, I starved on a plane once because I had chicken and broccoli, and I had it in a
I
Tupperware
did the
container. I was
photo
starving,
shoot.
and I
I
cracked
thought
the
it was,
lid.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought this guy, Louis, is a bodybuilder. Period. End of story. That's what he is.
But he's not a people person. Listen, I did a photo shoot with Dave. Do you remember Jerry Frederick?
Yes, of course.
Oh, Jerry.
We all know Jerry.
All right.
We knew him very well.
Jerry Frederick. So go out to California. He wants to shoot me of all the people. I'm like, okay, you know, and I'm there, and it's like, you know, for me, it was like a dream. You know, I'm like, who the hell wants to shoot me in gold?
For Jerry,
Jerry,
it was a dream.
Right? So here I am doing a photo, doing a photo shoot, and there's Louis, and I'm trying to get his attention, and he fucking ignored me the whole
He
time.
can't hear, Carlo. He's deaf.
No, but I'm waving, literally jumping. Okay, listen, he's a foot taller than me, but I'm literally jumping in front of him. Pays no attention to me in the gym. Then he goes over to that little pro shop, right, where they sold all the stuff, and he's in there. I'm in there at the same time, and I'm like, "Hey, Lou, how are you?" He walked right past me.
He can't hear you. That's why.
He can't. He's not blind. He can't hear. He's not blind.
He can lip read. He can lip
Carlo,
read.
Louis up here. You're like down here.
I know where I am.
Why?
Yeah.
And Louis thinking about his next meal. He's not thinking about you.
Louis seen that they got the new issue of Flex magazine that just came out. That's all he was worried about.
He was probably upset that Joe didn't have him on the cover of that one. So he was
That's right. All right, I got to wrap this up. I got to go to sleep. Guys, thank you for joining me today. It was a great show. And if any of you guys in the comments below want to tell us who do you think might be the first legitimate 400-pound bodybuilder, although Kovacs has already done that, but who will be the next one?
Or if you want to be the next one.
Or if you want to be the next one, we'll send you a special myelize
But
statin
there's no
inhibiting.
kit.
It's
There's
coming.
no kit.
There you
It's
go.
coming
No
soon.
kid. Coming soon. No kid. All right. As we say every week, guys, here at
Myostabilize.
Heavy Muscle Radio with Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth.
The truth hurts.
Good night, everyone.
You're going to break the law, don't you?